Before Fort Wayne Center for Learning, Sam was mostly home. He did 1 year at school, and by the end of that year at school, he had been doing well in school, but at the same time he hadn't retained a lot of the information.
It felt like that there was some progress that needed to be made with reading. They had enjoyed a lot of things about school, but there was still, they were behind in reading. And so we felt that there was some improvement that needed to be made here.
In both Corey and Sam's case, there were just a couple pieces of, letter and sound associations that just weren't quite there. And I believed that the Seeing Stars program could really be really beneficial for them.
So much of what we do is based on being able to read in both our school and just in life. And so without being able to read, you can't even do your math homework. You can't have reading assignments at home. You can't do all these things that lead to a good education. And so without some of those skills and those abilities being sort of nurtured and built up, students really can't succeed.
They were able to present the different programs to us. They suggested that Sam would go through with both the Seeing Stars reading program and the visualizing and verbalizing program, 100 hours of each. And after talking to the director at that time, he just really made us feel confident that Sam could learn, and that there were just simple tools that maybe Sam didn't have under his belt yet that he really did need. Things that perhaps school wouldn't be able to provide to him, and we knew and had confidence that Fort Wayne Center for Learning believed in our child and knew that our child could accomplish these things. So we went ahead with it. We took the dive. It didn't hurt at all that Fort Wayne Center for Learning did offer us financial aid, which was helpful. We had 5 children at the time, and we thought, this is a huge investment. How can we possibly do this? But then on the flip side of it, comprehension and reading are just lifelong needs. If you don't have those things, everything will be a struggle. So we decided that this was worth the investment. As much as a college education or anything else, this is worth the investment to make sure that you have that firm foundation so that you can move forward and thrive in whatever Sam would choose to do in the future.
So I look at overall, the assessment has, I believe, 19 subtests, and each subtest gets its own individual score. So I break it down by category. So there's reading and spelling subtests, there's math subtests, there's comprehension subtests, and I look at if all of the scores in that area and that subject fall within average for their age, then they probably don't need the full intensive instruction. But if there are a couple scores that are, let's say, a year or more behind where we would expect it to be for their age, then I would probably recommend that intensive instruction to really get them the specialized one-on-one instruction to bridge those gaps.
They offer it in a way that we really just don't have the ability to, and I don't really know that any school does.
I mean, I certainly noticed one of the things with Corey that he's able to read so much faster. We had a hard time getting through, it's a really long slog before Fort Wayne Center for Learning to get through a simple, easy reader book. But then after Fort Wayne Center for Learning, he was able to sit down without so much difficulty and read half the book. And then also just his ability to pick out words and sentences. And then he was also excited to even just show the rules that he had learned and the different phonetic rules that he had gone over. So it was there was more excitement about learning. It wasn't just, well, I have to do this because I have to get through it. But there was also, certainly it was hard work, but they were able to foster a desire to do this and an enjoyment here for reading and for learning.
We give them, I like to call it a toolbox of all of the rules or tips and tricks to help them remember, all of the different intricacies of the things that they're learning.
I think the Fort Wayne Center for Learning does an amazing job of helping students with the fundamentals of reading and mathematics in a way that helps them to really succeed to their full potential. And I think it's completely worth the time and investment necessary to make those things happen.
I appreciated that, from the beginning to the end, Fort Wayne Center for Learning had they had a clear idea of what they needed to do to assess every student, and they were willing to adjust what they did. There was not a one-size-fits-all. So they started with assessments that tried to thoroughly evaluate where a student was and where they needed to go. And they were willing to say, this is this particular program is the priority for this student, maybe this one too, but here's the priority. They're willing to work with parents to talk about what needed to happen, and it was clear. And then as they went through the program, they provided clear feedback on where they were and what the student was doing and how they were doing. They were also willing to adjust and say, all right, this student needs to get up and move, and we need to walk down the halls as we do the exercises. So they're willing to adjust to particular situations and particular children. In the sessions, when I sat in on it, I noticed they were able to use games that were related to what they were doing, help the student visualize and verbalize, and then use a variety of methods to teach them the rules and keep energy going, keep it interesting, keep it fun, and also be positive and encouraging throughout the whole session. It's amazing that they could have this much energy for all of the hours that they were doing this one-on-one with the student. And so we really appreciated all that they did, how they were able to adjust to each student. They really know what they're doing, and they have a great deal of experience as they do it.
We have the opportunity to sit down and work with these kids one-on-one. It's a very individualized instruction. One of our favorite phrases is we go as quickly as we can, but as slowly as we must. So if a student is, if they already know this thing that we're working on, then we don't need to spend a whole lot of time on it because they already know it. But if, there's something that's a little tricky for them or could use, re-explaining or just phrased in a different way, then we have the time to slow down and really break it down with them, whereas they might just kind of, slip through the cracks in a classroom setting. In a one-on-one setting like what we have here, we can really address the individual skills that they're working on.